A free agent reunion that everybody expects the Arizona Cardinals to make, and one very big surprise addition, according to ESPN, Johnny Venerable. We're going to get into that on today's show.
Yeah, plus Daniel Jeremiah dropped his mock draft 2.0. Johnny C, Johnny Likey. PHNX Cardinals starts now. Hello. Welcome in live at Studio K, presented by our friends at Circle K. It's the PHNX Cardinals podcast, your premier #1 Arizona Cardinal podcast. Like and subscribe. Leave us a 5-star wherever you get your programming. I'm Johnny Venerable, Mr. Brandon Bills himself, Brack in Studio K. Damon, Dawg behind the mic. This show brought to you by our friends at Bet365. Never ordinary. Use the bonus code PHNX365 when you sign up. Choose your offer. Find out why. It's never ordinary with Bet365. Tim, you're right. I do have my coffee. I am caffeinated, and I'm ready to talk some ball.
Wow, that's mean. But I was going to say something respectful to you. Actually, I thought you've been working really hard at your opens to the show, your lives. I haven't seen anything like it. It's been special lately, and I wanted to commend you on that. But, you can continue to flaunt your coffee all you want. I'm fine. I'm doing well on this Tuesday edition of PHNX Cardinals, especially because we got the whole gang here. Are you gargling? Are you gargling your coffee?
That's probably not going to get clipped out.
No. T. Cleary, Claymore Jones, D93, Griffin. I see you. How about Didi, Schaff, Brian, K2, Sag? Everybody's here. Everybody's ready to talk some ball. Everybody's talking about potential free agent fits. One that I think everybody and their Aunt Wendy have pretty much telegraphed to the Arizona Cardinals, just based on Jonathan Gannon working with a certain somebody back in 2022 and before that. And then another one that came out of nowhere from the clouds, according to Matt Bowen and ESPN. So
some people might be puffing the clouds with the recommendation. We'll just use it as a tease here, because newsflash, Bo and I, we don't love it.
No,
we'll entertain it, right? Can we fast forward and just make Josh Sweat an Arizona Cardinal? I've had enough, right? It's February 18th. Free agency kicks off in just a couple of weeks. You messaged me today. Tampering starts, feels like in like one hot minute. It's like we get back from the combine and it's time to tamper, baby. Let's go. I need Josh Sweat on the Arizona Cardinals yesterday.
Yeah, some would argue not soon enough. Some that are uncaffeinated, some that are, on day 7 in a row at the gym, and those who have abstained from sweets, they would say it's not soon enough. But yeah, there was that realization that we were wrong. It's not March 12th. It's March 10th. That is a realistic break our fast here, with Monti Ossenfort making a couple big moves during the tampering period. So I'm excited about that. But no, I'm with you. Like the Josh Sweat to the Arizona Cardinals has been going on for a long time, really, even since like before the kickoff of the season. People are like, hey, Josh Sweat, he just signed just one more year in Philadelphia. Seems like that's just going to inevitably end in them parting ways, regardless of what type of season he has. And that seems to be like what's going to happen as far as the Eagles go.
Maybe I'm underestimating Hassan Reddick's, pushback from other franchises, even the Cardinals, about what he did, how he conducted himself. But maybe we're getting to the point where it's going to be like Josh Sweat or bust. Does it feel like that for you? Like in terms of pass pressure? But it feels like that though. Cause like we're going to talk about these top 50 free agents, their best fits. After you get past Reddick and Sweat and a Khalil Mack, who's 100 years old, spare me on that. There's not a pass rusher I would feel comfortable spending big money on. There's not a pass rusher, Bo, that you could sign that I would take you seriously entering 2025. Like you can get a baby in the draft. You can get, one of the kids out of Georgia at 16 or Mike Green or whomever, but that's not a solution, Bo Brock. That is, at the end of the day, a lottery ticket. Here's what I can say about Josh Sweat. We're going to get into it. I went back, I think, since 2018, 2019 via PFF. After his second year, he's had a pass rush grade of over 70 every single year dating back to 2020. Now, his best year, of course, came with Gannon in 2021. He made the Pro Bowl, but that's a possibility. When you talk about the Arizona Cardinals, just feels like you have to check this box.
Is it, not exactly the sexiest move? It's not the one that, you're setting your sights for, but it's the necessary one. It's the one that the Cardinals, it's just like it's presented itself. Just make it happen. You're going to be a better football team for it. Sure, he's not going to be somebody that's going to approach 15, 18, 20 sacks per season, but he's going to be a guy that can play the role that Jonathan Gannon envisions from his outside linebackers, what Nick Rallis wants, and he can do everything pretty well. He's not a guy that's going to excel really in any department, but he's a guy that, you sign him tomorrow and you're a better football team for it. And it's been a glaring need for this team ever since the regime change. Really actually ever since, J.J. Watt walked out of the building along with Zach Allen, but that was more interior-wise, kind of since Hassan Reddick and Chandler Jones exited the Valley.
Let's get to this super generous. We got 2 generous super chats here off the top of the show. You guys are unbelievable. Drop us a like. We got 300 people already watching live. Doc XD, our old friend, $50 to kick off the show. Unbelievable. Goodness. Happy belated, Johnny V. Well, thank you so much, Doc. Short kings stick together. We have to rebel against the Bo Brocks of the world who are well over 6 feet. Sorry to miss it. No apologies necessary. I haven't been able to catch a live in a long time. Been catching up on the shows I've missed, but I'm here. I've missed, been here live, been here live. How are you fellas doing? We're doing great, man. It's great to see you. Thanks so much for jumping in. Super generous super chat to kick off this show. It's got me taken back. I get emotional when I see these kind of things. So we appreciate you, Doc. And whether it's live or on pre-record or whatever, we always welcome you here.
Damon pointed out the avatar. What does that say? It says MP.
It says, "Have you seen me?" And it's a milk carton with MP on it.
MP, of course, infamous member of the chat who's a big-time Bears fan. I love the shade that's being thrown there. And, I love when my co-host gets his flowers. We might even honor him one more time. We've got some leftover cake.
No,
we might
please
do another
no.
cake break today. What do you think?
That gimmick has a shelf life, and it was yesterday. Just like the eggs and milk that were made with that cake, we need to move on. I will not allow it. Trenton Smith, I will allow this. $20. You guys are unbelievable. A good pass rush can make average DBs look good. 100%. Feel like you can't really say the same for the other way around. We have decent DBs, so we should go all in on D-line and free agency. No need to upgrade the DB group. 100%. I think you can win the NFC West with the Cardinals' current crop of corner. Name me a corner for the LA Rams. Name me a corner for the San Francisco 49ers that's making all pros and Pro Bowlers. Devin Witherspoon is the most notable DB in the NFC West, and he was drafted high for a reason out of the University of Illinois, but you can get by with B and C players at those positions. And I think Max Milton, Garrett Williams, Buddha, you got some high floors here, but the Cardinals, they can't support those players well enough until they upgrade their front seven.
No doubt about it. I mean, it's something we've been talking about for far too long. And it was one of the things that, the staples of any good defense is the ability to rush and the ability to cover. And if you don't have one of either, if you don't have one of them, it makes life really tough at this level. Like if you got a good front seven, but nobody can cover a lick, sometimes you can make up for that. It can elevate it a below average to pedestrian. But if you have, a pedestrian to above average cover guys and nobody up front to pressure a quarterback, it really makes life hard to really kind of keep these really talented wide receivers in check for too long.
Well, let's jump into it. ESPN did their top 50, Bo, free agent rankings and then a subsequent fit for each player So I'll preface this by saying that the Cardinals were only linked to one top 20 player. And you guessed it, Bo, it was Josh Sweat. So I think before we get to Sweat's breakdown, of course, T. Higgins at number 1 to the Commanders, Trey Smith to the Chicago Bears, which, come on. Ronnie Stanley staying with the Ravens. The Bears, everybody's just assuming Trey Smith. Does anybody know if Trey Smith wants to be a Chicago Bear? I just feel like
Carm asked them, and the people came after them. How dare you?
I loved it.
How dare you? Trey Smith didn't have the greatest postseason. I'll say that. He had a really, after another solid regular season, the consensus top offensive lineman in this free agent crop struggled all 3 games for the Chiefs, including giving up a sack in the Super Bowl. But no, I mean, Trey Smith to the Bears, I know that they have a glaring need on the offensive line, but I mean, are people going to just pick Chicago after trying to tweak things for so long and unsuccessfully at that, and just say, hey, I want to go play with Caleb Williams? Are people saying that? Like, no matter if the money's even with Trey Smith, is he going to select the Bears?
Brian saying Trey Smith did get bullied by Jalen Carter and Milton Williams. I don't think Trey Smith is going to solve everybody's issues in Chicago. Hey, Trey, can you play 5 positions at once? It's basically what they're going to be paying you to do. I digress. DJ Reader, number 4 to the Patriots. Chris Godwin remaining in Tampa. Sam Darnold going to the Las Vegas Raiders. And then at number 7, just ahead of Milton Williams at number 8, Josh Sweat. Let's pull it up. This is the breakdown from our frenemies at ESPN. This is from Matt Bowen, the worldwide leader. Coach Jonathan Gannon worked with Sweat in Philly, so he knows what he'd be getting. 6'5".
Oh, that's interesting. That's really interesting. I didn't know that. Did you know that, Damon?
Learn something new every damn day, Bo.
Remember when Chris Johnson used to play in the NFL, and it was after he got shot, and it was like every broadcast you watch, Chris Johnson plays like, do you know he was shot in the arm? And it was like every broadcast without fail. This is every free agent breakdown of Josh Sweat going to the Cardinals. It's like, he did play with Jonathan Gannon back in 21 and 22.
Now that I'm reading this breakdown out loud, if you can call it that, it is a pretty terrible breakdown. It is a pretty vanilla paint by numbers. Sweat would add a much needed pass rush juice to Gannon's defense.
It's ChatGPT.
Right.
It is using speed to power to get to the QB. It's okay, guys. Let's Matt. I do respect Matt Bowen. I've met him before. He's a nice guy. I think everybody's connecting the same dots here. So whether or not you feel like this is legitimate.
Well, listen, take that.
Yeah.
And let's compare it with, everybody's media darling, but continuous just fall flat on their face. Chicago Bears, Trey Smith, the top interior lineman on the market. Smith would upgrade the critical position of need for Chicago. Smith is powerful mover in the run game. His run block win rate, they even give a stat, 75.1%, ranks 6th among guards. Plus, he has the foot speed, the mere interior defenders, strength at 6'6", 321, an anchor against bull rushes. Bears general manager Ryan Poles can make a splash move to the rebuild for the front of Ben Johnson's new offense. The Bears allowed a league-high 68 sacks in 2024. This is an area that needs to be addressed. I mean, a little bit more effort put in that. And it's okay, but is this a testament or indictment as far as the pass rusher that's at the top of the free agent class? He doesn't say, hey, this is the top pass rusher that's available in Josh Sweat. It's just as he said, just a meat and potatoes chat GPT breakdown of Josh Sweat's game and how he would kind of fit Arizona just based on connecting the dots to Gannon.
I'm going to pull this comment up here because I think there's some truth to it. Josh Sweat is incredibly mid. If you're saying it's Sweat or bust, then you don't know ball at all. He doesn't move the needle. I understand where Cards Kingdom is coming from. Maybe he's throwing shade, maybe not. Here's what I will say. And I think I'm going to follow it up with another comment. Our chat's so flippin' smart. Claymore Jones, he's better than anything the Cardinals have. When you have put yourself in this position, Monti Ossenfort, you have no one to blame but yourself. We're sitting here and we're talking about paying, $80-90 million for a guy that had 8 sacks last year. Now, he dominated the Super Bowl, could have been the Super Bowl MVP of that game. So I just sometimes I don't even know what a good analogy is for this. It's like it's like for those of us who are maybe waiting for interest rates to drop, and you waited and you waited and you waited, and now they're over 8 again. And it's like, well, eventually you just got to buy a house. Eventually you just got to buy a pass rusher. You've missed on players in the draft. Ojulari's been hurt. You passed on Will Anderson Jr. That's okay. You sat out last year, which was a much better class. Your defense was atrocious at rushing the passer. Do I have to remind everybody? They were second to last in PFF pass rush win rate. Their leading sacker, Zaven Collins, had 5 sacks this year. You get what you pay for. So now it's like everybody's talking about, well, you can't overpay for Josh Sweat. I really don't think you have a choice. Theoretic. Like, you're not giving a multi-year deal to Khalil Mack. I'm sorry. Khalil Mack is old. He's brittle. He gets hurt. That they have him listed for the Packers here. That makes sense. Packers going for it, rotational edge player. You got to go with one of the 2 guys that have been with your DC and your head coach before, that have excelled with them. It's a unique situation. Yeah. And then if you want to take another one at 16, we're going to throw a flipping parade. Do it. Right. Double dip on it. But like, for the people who are like, that's just too much money, then what are you going to do? You're going to suck ass at the position again? Because that's what we watched for 17 games this year. Couldn't close out games. Right. Couldn't win with 4. This is what you get if you're Monti Ossenfort. Don't be mad at Sweat. You got to be mad at the general manager.
What's probably like the most reliable car that Ford produces? Is it like the Ford Escape?
Yeah.
Like, is it decent price point, right? But it's reliable. It's going to get you to your job back home, right? It's going to get there, and you can probably rack up the mileage on it. But, you're not going to cruise down Mill Avenue, and you're not going to turn any heads for if you're trying to, pick up chicks.
Not a Micah Parsons.
No, it's not. It's not the Mustang, right? No. It's not like the cool Ford F-150, but it's gonna get the job done. And it's way better than the beat up Chevy you've been driving, from 1986 that the Cardinals have been putting out at pass rush the last 2 seasons.
Ford Pinto back in the day. Throw back to that. I love the Pinto. Love Dennis Gardeck. It's time to upgrade. It's time to make a change. It's time to trade that puppy in. That puppy's got 2 ACLs and a bunch of mileage. It's time to. I know you hate car payments, Monti Ossenfort. Last year there was some sweet rebates going on with those cars. Right, not available now.
They're like you signed the paperwork on your new car, and you hand them over the keys to your Dennis Gardeck, and they're like, "Oh, thanks, yeah." We'll have somebody pull it around.
$100 toward your rebate.
We're gonna put it in the lot all the way back there. You do get the trade-in value. We maxed that out. But yeah, thanks. Well, can you just get it out of the front of our dealership, please?
Oh man, it's a perfect comparison. You just need somebody to get the job done, and we saw with Sweat. Like here's where you have to be confident in this decision if they make it, which feels like, at this point, it's not a foregone conclusion, but it's enough people that feel like that this is going to happen. Who is pulling the trigger on this move? Ossenfort. Who is fueling this decision? Gannon and Nick Rollis, right? Yeah. Timu edge players. That's right. You feel good about it. Cliff Kingsbury overseeing a defense with Vance Joseph compared to Gannon overseeing a defense with Nick Rollis. It's just night and day. Mm-hmm. I think, what is the expectation for Josh Sweat if he signs with the Arizona Cardinals, Bo, this year? Give me his over-under for sacks in 2025.
You look 7.5, I think, is probably the number for Sweat.
I would probably say I would expect 9.5 to be the over-under. I think you got to shoot for, if you're paying a guy that much money, you at least have to make it known publicly. We think this guy can get double digits.
He hasn't gone over. He hasn't had that since he played for Gannon last year. His career high is 11. Here's the thing about Sweat that you have to understand is it's not the only move. It's not going to be the only addition to your defensive front seven. It might not be the only addition to your pass rush room, but it's going to check a box, and it's going to elevate the edge rush room to at least a serviceable level. Mm-hmm. And when you looked at what Philly did last year, if you look at Philly, Josh Sweat was because of the Bryce Huff signing being kind of a disaster, Josh Sweat was kind of like their only steady guy off the edge. And a lot of the noise that they made came from the interior. So if it's like, okay, they're going to sign Josh Sweat, and like you're probably going to have to pay a little bit over market value in order to secure that. And like the best of Josh Sweat, it's not going to move the needle, as I've been saying, for people like where he's not going to approach 14 and a half, 15 sacks, but he's going to be able to generate enough pressure and also collaborate with people who work on the interior of the defensive line to be as disruptive as you need your defense to be. Like if you just look at this defense from the Eagles, like there wasn't a whole lot of guys, there wasn't a whole lot of talent coming off the edge. But if you got somebody that raises the floor a little bit and then also swing for the fences, maybe with 16th overall, whether it's another outside linebacker like a James Pierce or a Mike Green, looks a lot better, doesn't it?
Way better.
Or if it's Walter Nolan in the middle of the defense, it looks a lot better. So you just have to understand that the signing of Josh Sweat is to raise the floor, and you're not going to just put yourself in a position come draft time where you have to hit on filling all your needs on the defensive front seven. I just don't think that's the right way to move forward.
If Josh Sweat goes to a different team than Philadelphia or Arizona, he will have his fourth defensive coordinator in 4 years, 4 different ones. And I think you could make an argument like with Fangio this year, obviously excelled in the Super Bowl. They fired their DC last year. I think they fired him mid-season. And then Gannon, of course, a career high 11. Like maybe can we just be real for a second? Is he the best fit for Jonathan Gannon? Like what this article says, even though it's Chat GPT, as Damon said, ESPN, we love our guy Matt Bowen. Not only fit, but like scheme fit. Maybe he's a better scheme fit for what Gannon and Rollins want to do. Like Fangio makes the most of them, and they did a great job, especially in the Super Bowl. But like, is it crazy to think like, hey, come back with JG and you can hit double-digit sacks again? That has to be the mindset. Now, I love this comment from Doc XD because it really kind of contextualizes everything. You are going from the best D-line in the NFL to maybe the worst. Like,
well, you want to be a part of that room turning the corner, and you with the addition of Josh Sweat, coupled with Darius Robinson, and then what you're going to do is 16 and potentially was it 47?
Yeah,
you can really kind of make some hay as far as really kind of throwing a lot of all your assets and rebuilding that, because you know what the benefits of that. Philadelphia has shown you the benefits of really just kind of investing your top assets into your defensive front seven. I mean, Philadelphia, Josh Sweat led the Eagles with 8 sacks last season, but they had 41 as a group because like it was Nolan Smith with 6.5 and Milton Williams with 5 and Jalen Carter with 4.5. And then you kind of have some linebackers here and there with 3 and sprinkle that in. And that's what you can do. Like you're not going to have somebody that's going to there's the Max Crosbys, the Micah Parsons, the Myles Garretts. They're going to come at a premium price, and they're really going to limit your ability to really build out from top to bottom a front seven that can be sustainable for the future. And I think Josh Sweat gives you a guy at a decent age at 27 that can, his floor as far as production is fine. It's just, people are just going to be underwhelmed by it because they've been lacking in that position for so long. They want more sizzle from it. But I think Josh Sweat would elevate the room to where it needs to get and put you in a position that any addition you make, you can get excited about it.
I mean, it's a top 10 player in free agency, which Ossenfort, that should be his bar this year. Like no more playing in the sandbox to the bottom half. We're going to continue evaluating this list. Plus, what did Matt Bowen say about a potential veteran receiver, a shocking selection for the Arizona Cardinals? That's coming up on PHNX Cardinals. Speaking of the Cardinals, they're up in their financial acumen as well as PHNX Sports and the Venerable household with our friends at Desert Financial Credit Union. Drop a like on this video if you've seen a Desert Financial Credit Union in your area. There's a chance that you have, and it's better than just a one-off transaction, right? It's a financial institution. They're helping and dedicating experiences by giving back to the community and providing financial solutions, Bo and Damon, that make lives better. They've got a team of financial experts who are committed to their members and their community, offering financial solutions tailored to helping real people achieve their financial goals and dreams. And I mentioned not a one-off. I mean, sure, they've got ATMs. They also have checking accounts, savings accounts, mortgages, loans, credit cards, investment options, and more. And the coup de grace, the chef's kiss, rep the Red Sea now with the Arizona Cardinal Visa debit card. You see it on the screen there. They got the bird, the player, and the helmet. I love them all. And I love this. Show your team spirit online. Open up a free checking account. Again, and I mentioned it's free. Takes a matter of minutes. Debit cards in the mail a couple days after the fact. Go to desertfinancial.com/Cardinals, Bo, to get started.
Love it. Hopefully Josh Sweat's going to be doing his banking at Desert Financial and also buying a home from our friend Carol Royce and her team of real estate agents over at the Carol Royce Real Estate Team, your home sold guaranteed realty. Give Carol and her team a call today, 480-776-5231. That's 480-776-5231. And Carol's going to help get you into the home of your dreams. Whether it's your first time as a home buyer, your seasoned pro, buying a home can be tricky, and that's why they recommend your friend Carol Royce. Her team has been at it for over 3 decades, sold over 12,000 homes in this real estate market. And it's very competitive. And like a great coach, Carol Royce's team will build your game plan and get you into the perfect home for you and your family. Of course, a special shout out, PHNX sports fan Hayden just bought his first home with Carol Royce. Let's go, Hayden. We love that. Become a VIP buyer and get access to off-the-market properties you haven't been picked over, and you won't find these homes on Zillow or Realtor.com. It's going to open up a whole nother option for you as far as finding your home in your future. If you're ready to find your dream home, take the next step. Call Carol Royce or visit Carol online at carolroyceteam.com. That's carolroyceteam.com. Terms and conditions apply.
Do us a favor, drop a like on this video. We got almost 700 people watching live already. Jump on over and drop us a like. The link is in the show description. Appreciate you all. We are en route to the NFL Combine next week, breaking down many, many prospects, including our guy Cam Skattebo. I can't wait to catch up with Cam, watch him on the on-field workouts. We got Fran Duffy right around the corner. You can catch his work at gophnx.com. And it's funny because we'll go like hard in the paint for prospects next week. And then we'll also be there and we'll get rumblings, right? We'll drop an article on gophnx.com. Maybe you have to be a diehard, maybe not to read it. Basically, the rumblings of what's happening. And I'm fired up. What could be a place where a lot of free agents are synced up. It was Steve Keim once upon a time with Bill O'Brien at St. Elmo's doing a deal under the table for DeAndre Hopkins, for David Johnson. A lot of people think prospects at the Combine, but it's also where a lot of veterans get moved.
Yeah, it is. A lot of deals are kind of outlined and put the structures in place. And, if certain things happen or don't happen, they come to fruition come that tampering period like we did see that fateful day. Couldn't believe it. I remember where I was. And he's like, the Cardinals, they offloaded that bad DJ contract. And they got DeAndre Hopkins. What? It was
they give up their first in the process.
Right. But yeah, I can't wait for next week. It's a huge week each and every year during the NFL calendar. But to just kind of wrap up the Josh Sweat thing, I know it's not the sexiest move, but it seems like it's a necessary move the Cardinals need to make to kind of set the tone this offseason that they're not going to sit out and that they're going to address their biggest weakness that they've had on, as far as this roster goes in 2023 and 2024.
Like, do you think there'll be a segment of the fan base that's like, this is a bad signing? Like, I think Cardinal fans at this point, you hate to use the word like thirsty for a big move, but it does feel like that's the missing element. And I think a lot of people will give grace to Ossenfort because of the familiarity and the relationship with Gannon that Sweat has, or Milton Williams or whomever. Like, it just feels like Cardinal fans will be forgiving to a big deal because Ossenfort needs to secure one. Whereas like we had to see him. Could he draft well? We've seen that, right? Paris Johnson Jr. and Marv, and he's done a nice job. Garrett Williams. This is the missing piece. So really, to me, it's like, regardless of the player, we just have to see him do it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's a big part of it. But for those who are going to be skeptical of it, then you're basically saying you're skeptical of Jonathan Gannon and Nick Rollis's ability to continue to evaluate players at the pro level and that you don't think that they're capable of getting, the status quo as far as production or more from Josh Sweat. Where I think the fan base, and I'm already seeing it in the chat. People will say, Josh Sweat is mid and he doesn't do it for me. But sometimes the pass rush market isn't giving you a ton of options. Unfortunately, there's no Danielle Hunter. There's no Jonathan Grenard. There's no, Andrew Van and Ginkel, right?
Yeah.
There's Josh Sweat's kind of leading the pack right now. And you've kind of got VIP access to Josh Sweat because of previous relationships with your DC and your head coach. And if Monti Ossenfort does pull off this deal, I think it's because Jonathan Gannon said, go out and get my guy.
I'm with you there, Bo, and totally that would be the saving grace for me.
Yeah.
But I'll be honest, I kind of think Josh Sweat is mid.
But I think that's fine, because I would look at it under the guise of it's Josh Sweat, and then what else are you going to add to this collection?
Yeah, right. And I do trust Jonathan Gannon and Nick Rawlis. They've worked with him before. They clearly know what kind of chess piece he brings to the table. So that would breed me with confidence. But I do look at it a little bit and say the Eagles are a edge rushing and D-line factory.
Mm-hmm.
Josh Sweat is coming over here to be the guy, where he was one of the 9 guys in Philly. And that concerns me a little bit.
It's a missing piece, but it's not the missing piece. We're taking a sledgehammer, Damon. We're going to lead our show with this tomorrow. It's how many cornerstone front 7 players do they even have? And you're basically starting from scratch. You've got Darius and some other pieces, but I mean, you're year to year with a lot of these guys, right? Even somebody like Zaven Collins, his extension kicks in. It's not for a bunch of money, right? They didn't sink $20 million a year on a former first round pick Zaven Collins. I look at it, Bo, and I just think you have to at some point you get what you pay for.
Right.
You're not paying anybody in your front 7 any money. No one's making any money.
What about Mr. J's comment right here? Not a guy in the chat who's dating a 2 that wouldn't upgrade to a 6 in a heartbeat. And that's probably Josh Sweat is he's maxing out. He's a hard 6 as far as NFL pass rushers go. On his best day. We saw his best day. It was in the Super Bowl. He's benefiting from, Travis Kelce being a turnstile, kind of going Olay and letting them get to Patrick Mahomes. But at the same time, that he's also sound in the other departments that Jonathan Gannon and Nick Rawlis value as far as what they need from their outside linebacker playing. So, and the lunch pail trench upgrades that they need to make that they can at 16 or potentially also in free agency, those guys probably don't get as much notoriety as the edge rush position gets anyway. And so Josh Sweat, he'll get his flowers to an extent more so than those guys, but then also he'll take some flack because he's not, one of the top 10 players at his position.
Continuing on, Milton Williams right behind Josh Sweat on the list, linked up with the Patriots. And again, Milton Williams, if he hits free agency, feels like he's just going to go to the highest bidder. And the Cardinals still need to be in this sandbox. But we talked about it off air. If you take Milton Williams, can you take a pass rusher at 16? That's the difference for me, or a D tackle at 16. That's the difference for me. You've got Darius. Let's say you sign Milton Williams. I don't think you can take another D tackle at 16. Whereas I think if you sign Josh Sweat and you love a pass rusher that makes it to 16, guess what? That position is so starved for talent. You can take a pass rusher at 16. Hey, B.J. Ojulari. Hey, Zaven Collins. Your backups till proven otherwise, right? Our investments are in these 2 individuals. So I think Darius can play. I think he's going to have a second-year pop.
Yeah.
And if you get Milton Williams, you're probably not taking Walter Nolan at pick 16.
Right. Yeah, and you're paying Milton Williams. You're probably, Josh Sweat will be on the field more than Milton Williams. Milton Williams has never played 50% of the snaps. I'm an advocate for going out and getting Milton Williams because he's a proven commodity, right? But I'm also looking at this. I don't want to take yourself out of the position to draft a defensive tackle in one of the most talent-rich drafts at that position, right? I think that when you do look at the numbers crunch, it does present you're either going to get one in free agency or you're going to draft one. And if the Cardinals don't get one in free agency, it's a little bit of an antsy kind of waiting period between when the tampering period begins and when you're on the clock at the end of April. Like that's going to be a long time. Like Cardinals fans gnawing off their fingernails. Like, oh, what are they going to do? They haven't improved the front seven. It's just like, well, you got to wait to see what Monti's going to do in the draft.
Tim, great comment. Hindsight is 2020, but I wish we would have paid Grenard or Leonard Williams last year. Avoided this issue entirely. You know, we're not one to pat ourselves on the back often on this show, but we probably have 30 or 40 graphics made last offseason highlighted by Jonathan Grenard and Leonard Williams and Justin Meadowbuke and Christian Wilkins. Like those were our premier targets in free agency. And the Cardinals basically sat out all of that. And it was a mistake. They made a mistake last year. And now you have to pay up, right? You didn't buy into real estate at the right time. You need a good school district for your kids. Guess what? Write a fat check. Make sure you're in the right area. Make sure you're in the right zip code. Make sure you can afford a Josh Sweat to help you try to get back to the playoffs for the first time since 2015. You were 6-4.
Right.
Your quarterback play went down the toilet, and so did your pass rush. You can fix one of those organically this offseason. Go buy one. Like they have no choice at this point. You can't. Like I saw some people talking about Malcolm Koonce in the chat. And if we open up free agency and that's the move, I'm literally going to throw up. I will not be able to stomach that. You got to get fans to take you seriously off the edge for us to believe that you're serious about winning this year. You can't sell me that you're serious about winning this year without getting serious about your pass rush.
I won't take any Malcolm Koonce slander that. I think he would be a fine move.
Here's one for Johnny. The upside of Malcolm Koonce is levels on the upside of Josh Sweat.
It is.
I love upside talk. What did he do last year?
Oh, I'm sorry. I like to win Super Bowls, Johnny. I don't know about you. You want to just make playoffs in the first round?
Like, so.
Regardless if it's, Malcolm Koonce or Josh Sweat, and you're trying to figure out, is a high floor better than the guy with a high ceiling and low floor? There has to be upgrades. But what if you add one, especially at the pass rush, and then you're able to, add him to the room where you got BJ Ojulari coming back and Zaven Collins, and you slide those guys down and you put them in a role that fits their skill set better or their availability in Ojulari's case. And then you continue to chip away at this defensive front seven. By the end of the offseason, you're going to be you could be in a really good spot. You like, if you get a Sweat and you say you sit out free agency as far as a defensive line, but then you take Walter Nolan 16th overall, and then your defensive front seven is Walter Nolan, Darius Robinson, Josh Sweat, BJ Ojulari. Say you get somebody in the second or third round off the edge, like then you're on to something.
You're cooking. Speaking of cooking, so is Canyon Man. I saw 9-minute highlights on Koonce. I'm moving with Johnny. He really didn't do anything more than Barron. People are talking. Here's Malcolm.
9 minutes of a guy not doing anything.
Yeah. Welcome to YouTube. We do it every day. People would say that's the formula for this show every day. Malcolm
I showed you an interesting video yesterday about Malcolm Koonce. It was I don't know if you remember it. Max Crosby. Ever heard of him, Johnny?
Oh, just some schlub?
Yeah, he's a nobody. He said he'd take 52 Malcolm Koonces on his team next to him. Said that he's the hardest working guy other than him in the Raiders facility. Sounded like a JG guy.
That does sound like a Cardinal.
I think that's a quote from J.J. Watt talking about Dennis Gardeck while he was here. I think that's an exact quote from J.J. Watt talking about we need 52 Dennis Gardecks and we'll go 7-10 every year. Malcolm Koonce was drafted in 2021. First year, 2 sacks. Second year, 0 sacks in 17 games. Cardinals know what that's like. 2023, put him in the Hall of Fame. 8 sacks for a terrible Raiders team. 2024 didn't play because of injury. Roll out the red carpet, get the Canton bus ready to go, get the Super Bowl trophy ready, shine it up real good here in Arizona. Come on, let's have some standards now. We talk about pursuing a 6 at the bar. You guys are talking to me like, we're gonna get inappropriate here, so we're gonna detour off that path. Yeah. But I'm gonna tell you at the end of the day, Malcolm Koonce with a Milton Williams, thumbs up. Malcolm Koonce headlining your free agency class, no thanks. Not going to do it. Not going to win you a damn thing.
No, it's not going to get me caffeine again. It's not going to get you sweet treats. I'll agree with that. But I'm not going to poo-poo the Josh Sweat. I think that, free agency, this is exactly what it's all about. Players like Josh Sweat, guys that where you haven't had any success as far as filling those holes, somebody's available and you have to throw a couple extra cap dollars in order to lock them in. And, there's obviously cases of disaster, but I think Sweat has a high enough floor to where he's going to be productive. You're not going to sit back and say, oh, that was another case of Justin Jones or Bilal Nichols.
Can you imagine the spin job that would have to come from Ossenfort?
Are you still on Koonce?
Let me just walk you through this scenario. I want to take everybody. Let's fast forward.
We're moving past that. I was trying to move past that.
It's mid-March. Ossenfort is at the podium. One of the 2 times he talks during the year. It's in the height of free agency, and they're up there and they're talking up a guy who didn't play last year, and then Josh Sweat, who dominated the Super Bowl, who played for Gannon. He played his best football. He signs with somebody else, and the Cardinals are like, we think we've got a steal in Malcolm Koonce, and Cardinal fans collectively throw up on their lap. Think about that reality. The spin that they would have to do to make that a reality with Cardinal fans would be disgusting enough for me to walk off this show.
Oh, there's a positive.
Temporarily, and I immediately come back and rip off.
Yeah, you're a weak man. You'd come running back.
I owe it to the 763 people watching live to not stand for that. Don't stand for that, Cardinal fans.
Yeah,
we're not here for spin zone, Sean Murphy, Bunting, Justin Jones. We've had enough of that. We've had enough.
Yeah.
Amari Cooper, Arizona Cardinal. Let's talk about it next.
Johnny, first, I got to tell you about our friends over at Colt Cannabis and our friends over at True Leave. We love both Colt Cannabis and True Leave, and they're collaborating, and it just makes so much damn sense. We love it. And, of course, our friends at Colt Cannabis are now available in local True Leaves, like the one down the street here, 7th Street in Roosevelt downtown. But they got them all over the Valley of the Sun, like the one that just opened up in Maricopa early January. True Leave's got that exclusive magic marker strain the Valley's been asking for. She's back. Visit TrueLeaf.com to find a local shop near you and place an order and tell them your friends over at PHNX Cardinals sent you. That's right, True Leaf, Cult Cannabis, great flower, hard to find these days. That great flower is really tough to find. And luckily, our friends at Cult Cannabis have been dropping absolute fire, including dropping it off here at PHNX Studios and now at your local True Leaf. It includes the True Leaves exclusive magic marker strain. Check them out in the Copa. Check them out downtown Phoenix. Check them out wherever you can find them. Go to TrueLeaf.com. Find your local shop. Place an order with them. And like I said, tell them Johnny, Bo, and Damon sent you. They're getting you that flower you've been craving for far too long. True Leaf, Cult Cannabis. Check them out. TrueLeaf.com.
Love our friends at Cult Cannabis. Love our friends. There's Bo's repping them today. I rep them every day. It's our friends at Branded Bills, one of the, I would say, stalwarts here in the Valley. They're locally owned, operated out of Mesa, and it's hard to go somewhere in the Valley now moving forward and not see a Branded Bills cap. We're very fortunate for this partnership. We're fired up about 2025 with our friends at Branded Bills. We've got our own collection. Check out their collection. Hell, make your own collection at brandedbills.com. Use the bonus code PHNX for 20% off your order. Elevate your brand with Branded Bills. It's the perfect headwear and apparel. They've got snapbacks, truckers, fitteds. They've got beanies and tees. And then, like Bo said, the classic headwear that you see on that man's head is second to none. Face aside, it's a great looking head. Head to brandedbills.com. Just kidding, Bo. Use the bonus code PHNX for 20% off your first order. Again, Branded Bills. We love them. I can't wait to rep my collection this year in 2025.
Yeah, it's never ending. Like if you come up with new designs, you just reach out brandedbills.com and you work with their great design team. We saw it in person. Damon and I did. And it's really an unbelievable operation that they have going on right here in our Valley. What's an interesting operation is what Matt Bowen and ESPN are churning out as far as what they view as fits for the Arizona Cardinals. Johnny, of course, we talked about Sweat in that pass rush group for almost an hour. But then there was one little surprise addition as I scrolled down and I saw the Cardinals connected as a fit for Amari Cooper. This is via Matt Bowen of ESPN. Cooper is showing signs of decline. He lost reps to Matt Collins in the playoffs, but he still has solid route traits. The Cardinals would love a veteran like him alongside Marvin Harrison Jr., while also giving Kyler Murray another target in the route tree. Yeah, I don't understand this one really at all. Basically, he starts it off saying, yeah, he's washed. And the only positive that I saw is like he could be like a veteran presence for Marvin Harrison Jr.
Oh, wow.
But it doesn't seem like it would be worthy of what you would have to spend to get a guy like Amari Cooper at 31 in the building.
Not good, Matt Bowen. I was talking you up earlier in the show. I'm not super happy with that. I was trying to look up his slot yardage last year. I think he still considers himself an outside receiver.
Yeah, he only played about 18 to 20% of his snaps in the slot.
I mean, if they signed Amari Cooper, like I wouldn't hate it, but like,
He'd be like the Zay Jones. You'd have to. He'd be in. People are saying like he's AJ Green.
I wouldn't mind like a veteran. Like they need a veteran in the room with those guys. I agree with that. Like Marvin could have used a veteran this year. Michael Wilson's still young in his career. Like I like checking the box. And listen, if they sign Amari Cooper, but their free agency crop is headlined by a Sweat or a Milton Williams, like we're going to be okay. I'm going to be okay with that. But like they're just doing the lazy thing where it's let's insert X veteran with this receiving core because we don't recognize any of these players. And that's, I mean, we at least tried to make an argument. Christian Kirk, 28 years old, grew up here. Is played with this franchise, played with Kyler Murray. There's continuity there. Maybe he'd be willing to come back. Kirk plays in the slot. Like Kirk to me is a much better fit. I mean, Amari Cooper, like why? Like he'll have options elsewhere. You might go. Hell, our guys at DLLS say he could go back to Dallas, play with Dak again. Like I just feel like 30 years old for a guy that had with Josh Allen had like 500 yards receiving. It's just not doing a lot for me.
It was a disaster. They gave up, a day 2 pick for Amari Cooper to go there and really not produce at all. It was like 250 in Cleveland and just over 200 yards receiving in Buffalo this season. Just wasn't that good. And it always astounds me when I see his age because you always think you don't feel like he's been around that long. He's 31 years old. And it just doesn't make sense unless he's coming in his A. Jones capacity, like on what you would consider the NFL veteran minimum, and is willing to be that 3-position receiver that just fills in when, maybe a Michael Wilson's not available or Marv isn't available or, he's not going to be able to play primarily from the slot. It's just, it doesn't make sense for the Arizona Cardinals for what the expected, market value for a guy like Amari Cooper for them to invest in that. Like the Christian Kirk thing, guys who primarily play in the slot, they make way more sense than really trying to fit a square peg in a round hole with Amari Cooper in this Cardinals offense.
It's like what we said about a veteran quarterback in the room with Kyler Murray. Like we think there's some benefits of that. Like, let me ask you this. Do you think they'll add a free agent wide receiver? Do you think like we'll be sitting here in March and they'll sign like somebody, I don't want to like a Juju or somebody like that, not Juju specifically, but it's like, oh yeah, X player who's been on a couple different teams, the Cardinals are going to use him as their third wide receiver. Like, do you think that's a possibility?
It is a possibility for sure. I mean, just like Zay Jones was last year, they do value experience. But I think at the same time, they need to learn from their mistakes and they need to value what would be a fit in production more so. Right. Like I thought, I don't know what they knew about Zay Jones. I mean, reportedly they weren't, aware that he was going to be suspended by the NFL for 5 games like he was, but I don't even know if that would have made a difference. If he's with this team, week 1, do you outside of just getting him on the field, those 5 games, do you get much more production? I'm pretty skeptical that you do. I think they need I think everybody understands what this offense needs from the wide receiver position, and its speed and its slot play.
I'm going to throw a name at you that's also on this list. And before you scoff at it, I do think he checks off I don't think you're going to be able to hit every box. I think youth, speed, athleticism, moxie, veteran presence. I think it's going to be hard to check all those. So you're going to have to compromise on a couple of those. I know he's 32. What about Keenan Allen on a 1-year deal?
No, he's so slow.
I mean, the Cardinals, they love their underneath stuff. He averaged last year 10.6 yards per catch with Caleb. He did have 744 yards.
Cardinals need guys that can separate. And Keenan Allen at this stage in his career can't separate. I mean, the biggest issue, like you look at the stats, the analytics show like there's some separation issues there. Can you get somebody? I think you need to add speed, and Keenan Allen might be at this point the slowest receiver in the league.
with all due respect, you're so slow, Keenan. You're the slowest person I've ever seen. I mean, like, I see people saying no. Okay, everybody in the chat, tell me who you want. Do not say. I saw people say Hollywood Brown. Please, no, that's not happening.
Right.
Get like
the Cooper Cups and like the Keenan Allen.
Tell me who we're signing.
I mean, I think you continue to look and monitor Christian Kirk. I think that's the dream. And then you start to look at guys who have experience in the slot or also have kind of versatile route trees that can go out there and be in complement and work the middle of the field to complement Michael Wilson and Marvin Harrison Jr. And it might be in the draft. Like you might look at maybe, albeit undersized, but like a Tez Johnson, or like we did with like a Nick Nash or Isaiah Bond from Texas. Like I think there's a couple different options for guys that don't profile as like 3-position or 2-position receivers, guys that can just primarily line up in the slot and utilize their speed and work the field.
Also, we just overthinking this. Like, is Trey McBride their slot receiver? Because in a lot of ways he is. And then you just and Tip Ryman's like their traditional tight end. But I'm with you. They need a veteran. Like I look at this wide receiver class and it's okay. It's fine. It's solid. It's not last year's class. Like I would not, like, if we're sitting there and you've got a choice between a mid-round receiver and like a Cam Skattebo, I think you know what direction I'm going to go. I don't like. I feel like last year was the year if you wanted to go. Come on, you even have to ask that question. Last year was the year to get multiple receivers. Yeah, I would take Cam Skattebo over receiver.
To play what role? Your third down back?
I don't want to get into this right now because I can tell you're already being.
What are you going to do? There's a football player.
That's right.
That's what he is.
He's going to play every position: running back, fullback, wide receiver, pass rusher, cornerback, safety. It's like that one video. All right. After Bo scolds me off air for my Cam Skattebo suggestion, we're going to talk about Daniel Jeremiah's mock draft 2.0, the first 16 picks leading up to the Cardinals pick. That's coming up on PHNX Cardinals. Sports Hero saying Cam would bring that fire. Done deal. You know who else brings the fire? Our friends at Bet365. God, I can't. There's going to be a future where you're going to go on Bet365 and you're going to be able to hammer a Cam Skattebo anytime tutty for the Arizona Cardinals. And it's going to be the best day of my life when that happens. Cam Skattebo plus 400 anytime tutty with Bet365 on a late gross kickoff against the Carolina Panthers. Chef's kiss. I've never needed anything more. But until that happens, right now, how about an early payout offer with our friends on the ice, NHL? You're a winner if your team gains a 3-goal lead with an instant payout on straight bets and parlay selections marked as winners. All you got to do, download the app today, bonus code PHNX365. Or how about this? It's Tip-Off Tuesday with our friends at Bet365. Place qualifying parlay bets totaling $20 or more on Tuesday NBA games. You're going to get up to $25 back in bonus bets. Terms and conditions apply. Again, download the app. Bonus code PHNX365. Whatever the moment, it's never an ordinary with Bet365. You got to be 21 years and older, physically located in the great state of Arizona. If you were someone you know has a gambling problem, wants help, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. Text NEXT STEP to 53342 or visit problemgambling.az.gov, Bo, for more info.
Waymo. What do you guys know about Waymo? I'm completely sold on Waymo. I love Waymo. If I could sell my car tomorrow and just use Waymo as my primary way of getting from point A to point B, I would do it. I love Waymo. I've ridden in it twice, and I plan on it being the primary way I'm going to ride hail going forward. Got myself to the airport early, 4:00 in the morning. It was so relaxing. Just downloaded the Waymo One app, scheduled it, got it there, got me to the airport, was able to just kind of relax and look at my phone the entire time. Had the nice soothing music on. It was just perfect. And it's nice new Jag with the leather seats. It's just a really nice quality ride the entire way, start to finish. 150,000 trips per week. Some people are concerned about it because it's on, it's not driverless. I mean, it's an autonomous ride with no human behind the wheel since 2015. They've been doing it, and they've been doing it at a high level. 40 million miles of real world driving experience. Download the Waymo One app today and ride. Download, request, ride Waymo.
Love our friends at Waymo. Love all of our friends watching live right now. Be sure to drop a like. The goal today, like every day moving forward, we need 500 likes to grow the channel, to get guests like Mina Kimes and our guy Baldy. We need your likes here, and we need you to subscribe to PHNX Sports. We're going to jump into Daniel Jeremiah's mock draft 2.0, at least the first 16 picks. And again, we're early enough in draft season, mid-February, where there is not a general consensus yet, right? There tends to be a lot of groupthink as we get closer along. Then there's our guy, Fran Duffy, who really dives into the tape. But Daniel Jeremiah, you feel like is a trusted resource. He's been on the show before. Let's take a look at his mock draft 2.0, the first 16 picks. I'm looking at this, Bo, on the surface level. What stands out to you?
He does have a couple of guys sliding in this, but then you see guys that he values that other draft analysts don't have in high regard, like Ty Warren, Jalen Walker. You got Mike Green cracking the top 10, but you do see a little bit of a run on those edge rushers. Like you got 3 off the board if you're considering Jalen Walker an edge rusher. So it starts to kind of thin things out for the Cardinals at 16, but it does give you the ability to kind of lean into, I don't know. I mean, you do have 2 defensive tackles that go off the board too for the Cardinals, but it flexes its depth with the Cardinals having a pretty good option at 16.
Feels like the Walter Nolan hype train has left the station and is in full effect, right? Like it feels like people who know ball, talk ball, understand his height, weight, speed combination. If he puts on a good combine performance, I don't think it's hyperbole to suggest that Walter Nolan could be a top 10 pick. There's a ton of if you're the Jets, you're taking a tight end, like gross, like just end your franchise now. But Kenneth Grant, to me, special player. I think right now, most mocks I've seen of him fall to the back half of the first round, but I wouldn't have an issue with this. Again, it's like the Cardinals are going to have a good problem to have. There's going to be multiple edge rushers and multiple defensive linemen right now, all ranked right around 16. The 2 kids out of Georgia, right? Multiple pass rushing defensive tackles out of Michigan, although we expect, like he did in this mock, Mason Graham to go high. By the way, if you're watching with one of our many streaming partners, jump on over to gophnx.com as we continue to break down Daniel Jeremiah's mock draft 2.0. Shedeur Sanders to the Raiders feels like, right now, feels like that's everybody's darling until they sign Sam Darnold or somebody like that. Kelvin Banks is a little rich for me at pick 10 for the Bears. Will Johnson's a name that our guy Fran Duffy talked about. Tyler Booker as a guard. I'm sure Damon doesn't love that value at pick 13 to his Dolphins. But, it's a mock draft at the end of the day where you can see that the top-end talent of this class is on the line of scrimmage, both offensive and defensive line.
Yeah, it is. And Kenneth Grant is just one of those. He doesn't stand out to you as a prospect. There's not a lot of fanfare behind him, but it's also one you're not going to turn your nose up at,
right?
Because you have such trust as far as this coaching staff to be able to put him in a position. We're going to talk to the new defensive line coach on Thursday. Excited to do that, kind of get his insights, his philosophies, how he would probably handle new additions to that room. But Fran Duffy's a little bit lower on him. He's got him as DT5, where Daniel Jeremiah's got him as the 3rd best defensive lineman. But he was a guy that only played as a starter for Michigan 1 year. You got to be excited about okay, where can he go from there? And just the NFL factory as far as front 7 players go. But I have no issue with this. There's a couple of like interesting prospects that were left on the board. If we can bring that back up as far as the top 16, like, would you take a Kenneth Grant over a Josh Simmons at the left tackle position, or right? Probably be the Cardinals' right tackle, but would you take defensive line play over offensive line play?
I mean, it's a cop out. I'd flip a coin. I think they're probably very comparable. They're two players that warrant, I think, selections in the teens right now. I would probably go Kenneth Grant over a tackle at this point. I love the pedigree, national champion. I don't take too much away from their season this year. New head coach. It felt like they were on fumes, but then when did they play their best game? When they smacked around Ohio State. I want that pedigree, but again, like Josh, to me, feels like if your board is picked clean of defensive linemen and you have the choice of the best offensive tackle available, right? Somebody who we all feel like should be a top 1 to 3 tackle, or like the 7th or 8th best defensive lineman, I think the choice is pretty easy. But if you're using a tiebreaker, you have to go defensive line, because we've seen the Cardinals can get by with average right tackle play. They cannot get by with egregious defensive line play.
Yeah. The really fascinating thing about how DJ went here is that there's no skill position players here. There's no playmakers outside of tight end. He's got the one Tyler Warren, but you've got the entire wide receiver class that has been untouched, and you're going down the depth chart as far as defensive line prospects. You're taking the third best. So if you're a Cardinals fan, you're like, well, what are maybe some of the better prospects at different positions? Like Damon, no T-Mac in this. You got Luther Burden III from Missouri still on the board. You got Ibuka from Ohio State. I mean, I'm not saying the Cardinals are going to go there, but I find it hard to believe in this pass-happy league that no wide receivers go before the Cardinals pick at 16.
T-Mac, to me, is a lock to go ahead of the Arizona Cardinals. Like, I can't see that happening. And then I'm sure there would be a segment of the fan base that would want the Cardinals to draft him. Some other notable omissions, like James Pierce Jr., like, let's see how he tests next week. A lot of people feel like he could slip a little bit. Ashton Genty, can you put a running back that high in this class? I think he can if a team falls in love with him. People love Derek Harmon more as an interior disruptor. He's got a better pass rush skill set than Kenneth Grant, but I think Grant's a better prospect overall. I don't know. Does a safety slip in there like a Malachi Starks? It's so funny. We talk about, where's Mike Green? We talk about Ohio State, Bo, and they just they kick ass. They take names. They won a natty, and it's like, how many Ohio State players are in this top 16? That's pretty nuts. Just shows you, like, I feel like the end of the first round, day 2 will be dominated by Buckeyes, but the top end of this class, it might just kind of be pick your preference here. Like, you can't tell me Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders are better overall prospects than I don't know, Walter Nolan, Will Johnson. I feel like they're those kind of players. You're basically these lottery tickets at quarterback. You got to feel for these teams that are in that position where they feel like they have to make that choice.
No, I mean, this is I think this is more like DJ showing his knowledge as far as who he outside of the quarterbacks because of the positional value there.
Yeah.
But who he views as some of the better players in this draft, and what, the other positions outside the quarterback spot, teams are really kind of holding on a higher pedestal. But like, no Genties, no T-Max, like, that's not how the NFL is operating. Like, there are going to be teams that can't help themselves, and rightfully so, that are going to go after that. And it's going to benefit the Cardinals, especially when they want to look at this defensive front seven. Like, if you get 1 to 2 to 3 guys to get pushed down the draft board that you can add to this defensive front seven, it's just going to be, and pick who you trust in your scouting department is the best fit for them. That would be, this is kind of a little bit of not a doomsday scenario for the Cardinals, but it's not, the draft board didn't exactly fall their way.
This would help. Brian, I saw the same report that Jackson Dart could be a firm top 15 selection.
Yeah.
Let's see that at his pro day in the combine. But Cardinals need that to happen. We need the running backs and the safeties and the tight ends and the quarterbacks to all have banner off seasons. And for teams like Bo said that can't help themselves, the Jets, the Raiders, the Browns, the usual suspect ineptitude. The Saints are up there frauding it up. You don't know who Kellen Moore loves. So yeah, I'm all for it. As much as like Bo and I were fans of Jackson Dart as a developmental guy, like would you take Jackson Dart at 16th overall?
No.
That would be a nightmare. That would be a horror show. Especially with all the defensive talent available. Let's check out the talent in the chat. We got super chats to read off here. Everybody like this video. We got 863 watching live. If you're on the Twitter streets, jump on over to YouTube. Drop us a like. The goal, 500 likes here on a Football Tuesday. Trenton Smith getting us caught up here, $4.99. Boy, I feel like there's going to be an under-the-radar huge trade that no one sees coming from Monti Ossenfort this free agency period.
Huge trade. Yeah. So would it be coming through via their draft capital, I'm wondering, or
I mean,
how does he get it done?
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be a Myles Garrett, Max Crosby, Micah Parsons. I would throw in Jeffrey Simmons kind of move.
Yeah. If the Cardinals can pull that off, I think a lot of people would sign up for it. But if they stay steadfast with their draft and develop approach and supplement through free agency, I think people would also continue to be excited about the trajectory of this team. What is this? Is this an actual super chat, or is this like a promotion?
This looks like
maybe seems like a personal promotion thing, but as long as the check clears.
Yeah, let's take a look at it. European basketball fans are crazy, jumping, singing loudly, throwing smoke flares. If you don't believe me, watch it on YouTube. All right. We like passionate fans of any sport. So there you go. Thank you for whatever currency that was.
I think that super chat just took my social security number. Chris, $10 super chat. I understand we need help on the edge. My concern is with our wide receivers. Sorry, we didn't have a solid 1 or 2 last year. When the tight end is the best wideout we have, that's a problem. I think we need to spend money on a solid wide receiver. I mean, like you drafted Marv, fair or not, to be the number one guy, and that's got to come to fruition this year, Chris. Like if they're cutting checks, as much as I would love for T. Higgins to be here, to add a receiver in free agency because they need a number one guy. If I'm Michael Bidwell, if I'm Cardinal Brass, it's like, why did we just take this kid 4th overall? Marvin has the tools to be a number one receiver, and I believe that will come to fruition this year. Yeah. Now, could you use some complementary speed underneath like we talked about? Hell yeah, definitely.
If you look at, just the top 10 as far as the receiving leaders, sure, it's got the first-year pops like Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson, and then it's got guys like CeeDee Lamb who needed a little bit more time to get up to speed. And CeeDee Lamb was a Triple Crown winner in the NFL in 2023. So, I think Marvin Harrison Jr., as long as he continues to trend and develop, he's going to be just fine. And as far as, the top receiver, it's Marvin Harrison Jr. And then if your second, option is Trey McBride, we've seen that work in the NFL. And then if you just need somebody to play supplemental role as far as your third option in the passing game. And that's where I think they need to identify it. So I don't envision them having to spend, a ton of bucks on that spot this offseason. But it's a good point. Terrence's tidbits, $4.99. If the Cards go DT at 16 and Nolan is gone, would you all prefer Derek Harmon or Kenneth Grant? Or is it too early for either of those players?
I don't think it's too early. I mean, they're both elite. I think they're both warrant top 20 selections. I know, Derek's been falling into the mid to late 20s. Obviously, we just saw DJ's mock with Kenneth Grant going to the Cardinals. I mean, it's like, then it becomes, I think, scheme fit and who you think has a better chance to excel in your scheme. Like Harmon, I think, is like 6'5", whereas Grant's a little stoutier at 6'3". He's got almost like 30 or 40 pounds on Derek Harmon. So, Oregon's defense was really good sans the Ohio State game.
Mm-hmm.
Michigan played his best game against Ohio State. I think Kenneth Grant was drafted recruited and developed by Jim Harbaugh. And I think he gets lost in the Mason Graham hype, which is fine, but I would defer to the program that 2 years ago dominated college football defensively. Yeah. Most of those players came back and basically were waiting for draft season. I'm going to go with Kenneth Grant, but either would be fine.
I think Grant's a little bit of a better athlete than Derek Harmon. and like you said, a little bit more LBs, can play a true nose, which I think the Cardinals that they would benefit from that position being filled. I'd give the edge to Grant. So, and I think Harmon, you're going to see him fall more into the second round as we go forward. I mean, he could surprise come next week, but I think he's got a lot of work to do.
I think Kenneth Grant compliments Darius Robinson really well. Josh, $5. Bo, do you think Osa's flexibility, speaking of nose tackle, to play nose tackle would help, while not often makes him a better target than Williams, especially because he doesn't have to sit that often? I mean, I do think the Cardinals, though, Josh, are in a unique position where, because of their head coach, like, they can support Milton Williams, maybe more so some other teams that are going to ask him to play like 70% of the snaps. But Osa or Williams, I mean, flip a coin. Williams was so prominently on display, but you got to remember, like, the Cowboys defense last year with Dan Quinn and Osa at the center, they were an elite unit. Now, they fell apart at the end of the year because they're a joke of a franchise. But, like, he's a really good player. And if you unlock him like Dan Quinn did, like, you're going to have probably your best defensive lineman on the roster.
I mean, if the Cardinals sign Osa Odigizua, it would be a massive get. It would be the biggest free agent addition under Monti Ossenfort. I just think what he brings to the table, and I don't think it's necessary for him to have to, like, really solidify his value by playing a ton of snaps. Like, he's not going to play the close to 80 snaps that he was asked to play last season for Dallas. Like, Jonathan Gannon told us, he doesn't want to get guys snap counts. He wants them being more of a sweet spot to get more production out of them. But I think I give the edge to Osa over Milton Williams just because, his versatility, his production, and I think he's just a little bit better of a player. But we see the fit and the relationship that Milton Williams has with Jonathan Gannon in the coaching staff. So either one of them, I think, would be a slam dunk addition. But also, I still am so intrigued by this draft class. If they miss out on those guys and they're able to add through free agency to the other parts of the defensive front seven, I can live with that.
Brian, $5. This draft is so deep at D tackle. I prefer edge at 16 if possible. Get that premier edge guy lots of value with DT in second, third, and even fourth. We're just touching on that. Whatever you do, you can't. I mean, you don't want to let free agency dictate your draft plans, but you also feel like if you sign a D tackle in free agency, I think your best course of action, you get Osa or Milton Williams as a free agent. Then it almost makes that pick 16. You are almost locked in on an edge rusher. Doesn't it feel like that? Or it's almost a mandate. And then your second or third round pick, another developmental defensive lineman, taking advantage of the class. Whereas if you sign Josh Sweat as a free agent, I think it gives you more options in the draft with that 16th overall pick of all the guys we just talked about, a D tackle and or edge rusher. But here's what you can't do. You can't whiff on both like you did last year and then have to fill every damn need come the draft. Enough of that, Monti Ossenfort. I don't want to be sitting here and saying, I expect this from my second rounder and my third round. It's like last year with Darius Robinson. Big reason why we were all excited and people were critical of Darius was Justin Jones and Bilal Nichols. Where were they? They were MIA. And everybody's like, Darius, get back here. Save the defensive line. Yeah. Same thing with Marv. It's like, Marv, save the receiving core. At the end of the day, the best course of action for these teams, like the Eagles didn't make Nolan Smith like take over their pass rush group. Same with Jalen Carter. Like, come and be pieces to the overall puzzle, but you're not expected to carry this room. Ossenfort needs to learn, and this is the offseason to do it, not to ask too much of his rookies while developing them on the fly.
Yeah. Canyon Man saying, Johnny, blowing fire. Spot on, brother. There you go, Johnny. Guys in the zone. Johnny's in his bag, as he is on a daily basis here at PHNX.
I'm thinking clearly, like mentally, because there hasn't been any poison injected in my body for now 8 days time. No sugar in my body. What are you saying? Don't joke with it. See, we're going to get into the point now where we're going to be live and people are going to put breaking in the chat and Bo and I are going to have a heart attack for different reasons. And then people are joking around. It's not really happening. So
yeah, Mike Meyer. Is that what you're talking about? Breaking Cardinals have hired Mike Meyer as team jester for morale.
Thanks, Tim. Johnny's in his bag because he ain't in the candy aisle. True words have never been.
How did you celebrate the old B-Day last night? What did you put in place of that where somebody would usually have cake?
Well, you know this, like everybody in my household but me has been sick with the flu. Everybody. And so my kids went back to school today. My son had been in school for almost a week. Flu's kicking everybody's ass this year. And so we really didn't do anything. It was one of the saddest birthdays you can imagine. It was the birthday of a grinder where it's just like, you know what? I'm just grinding through today. I got a nice card for my kids, and I'm just like, just another day today. So really, it was like
just kind of handshakes all around.
Yep.
He's like, hey, happy birthday, Dad.
That's
hey,
right.
Thanks, son.
Thanks, son. Let's move on.
Maybe a new tie.
Not even. Just hey, man. Hey, we appreciate everything you do. Happy birthday. It was The Office. It is your birthday, period. Not no exclamation point here.
But you know what? The best gift I could have gotten was chatting up with everybody in the chat yesterday. All the well wishes on Twitter and in the comments yesterday. I appreciate you.
Friends we made along the way, right?
Yep, absolutely. The best birthday gift would be a like and subscribe here on PHNX Sports on YouTube, because we're 3 days away from the NFL Combine kickoff, Bo Brack.
That's right. We are just a few days away from that. We will get ourselves to Indy. And we are going to see all the prospects. We're going to have some conversations with some Cardinals decision makers, and then all the shenanigans that comes along with our trips to Indianapolis. Of course, you want to become a diehard because you get the exclusive access to our member Discord, where we'll drop behind-the-scenes footage, little insights, what's going on, all along the way. It costs, what, $48? Is that the deal going on right now? Go PHNX.com. Get in the Discord. Join the community. If you like what's going on during the shows in the chat, it's going 24/7. So don't miss out on that. It's the best cards community around. Can't beat all the people in there. Love talking ball with them, and them seeing Johnny, myself, and Damon suffering also behind the scenes with what we've done to hold this organization accountable. So go become a diehard today. Go PHNX.com and don't miss out on any action from Indy next week and beyond.
Fired up. Everybody like this video. Big thanks to everybody in the chat. Your super chats, always humbling and overwhelming. We're back tomorrow, hoping to talk to our guy, Fran Duffy. And
Confirmed, We're going to talk to Fran tomorrow, 5 p.m. He's going to give us his latest update, kind of a combine chat, a little preview from our guy Fran, the best draft expert going on right now. Like you saw some things from DJ today in that mock draft. From like, you're not going to see some oversights there from our guy FD.
Plus, we're going to do yet another mock draft via the simulator. Things could get gross. You never know. Buckle up. Get your ponchos ready because it's going to get gross. Also, in the first segment, we're also going to be talking about, for the barf bags, we're also going to be talking about Cardinal cornerstones on the front seven. How many do they have? Do they have any? And who's going this free agency period? That and more. Subscribe to PHNX Cardinals wherever you get your podcasts. Everybody get your mobile phone, your smartphone, whatever you call it. Go to your podcast feed, subscribe, hit that follow button. And if you're so inclined, drop us a 5-star. And then, of course, like this video. The goal, 500 likes. Drop it in the comments below. Who do you think the Cardinals should take in the 2025 NFL Draft? For Damon, Bo, I'm Johnny Venerable. We'll see you tomorrow.
We all silly like the mayor.